We used to fish and spend the night out on the pontoon boat that Brother Martin Anderson owned, and Brother Tom Holland loved to fish, but when they weren't biting, he wasn't very patient, so he would sleep or start telling stories or break out a can of what he called Vienna sausages. But Brother Holland he loved to float down the river and look at God's handiwork. At night, look up at the stars, and during the day, he would just notice the trees and the wind and the water. And it was a good escape for him to get out in the countryside like that. He would tell stories about being a young person at Dement Creek and Anderson Creek, where he grew up in Limestone County, Alabama. But one time, I was not on this trip, but I remember Brother Martin Anderson telling me about it, and it was just hard to believe something like that could happen to Brother Tom Holland. But they were sleeping out on the dock at night, and Brother Anderson heard a splash, and he thought something has fallen in the water. He thought maybe it's the ice chest or maybe it's the boat anchor, but it was none of those things. It was Brother Holland had walked off the edge of the dock and had gone under the water, and he was in his 80s. And Brother Martin Anderson was getting older too, and he was panicking on what to do. It was dark. No one could see. And he said, "Brother Tom, where are you?" And he said, "I'm under the dock. I'm holding on." And he said, "I'm getting cold. I'm getting weak." And so they started doing everything they could to try to rescue Brother Tom. And at the time, it was not funny. It was very serious, because he very well could have drowned. But they were able to maneuver him with boards and with flotation devices. They could get to him and got a flashlight to him, and they were able finally to fish him out of the water. And after they dried him off and got him warm, they laughed about it, but realizing also at the same time the seriousness of the matter. But they wouldn't have had it any other way to know that they were there for each other, and that's part of one of the stories that they relate, that they related. And while I wasn't there, and Brother Anderson's not here to tell it firsthand, I just thought it was interesting to see Brother Holland from a different standpoint. Often people saw him only in the pulpit, or they would see him teaching a class or a college class, and they didn't see this side of Brother Tom. But he was one who loved the great outdoors, loved to see God's great handiwork. He would often say that God reveals himself generally in nature and specifically in the scriptures. He quotes Psalm chapter 19, showing that the heavens declare the glory of God, the firmament showeth forth his handiwork. And then he would talk about how that God specifically reveals himself in the Word to tell us exactly what he wants us to know. And he would say we need to read ourselves full, and then when we're full of God's Word, we need to share it with others. And he tried to do this as often as he could with as many people as he could. But at the same time, he enjoyed living, and it was evident in those that knew him and were with him, not just doing the work of the church, but just enjoying life together.